Shalom, I'm Rabbi Manny Viñas. Saludos a todos. Gracias por incluirme. Yo soy el rabino Manny Viñas. Les estoy grabando este video porque no puedo participar en vivo durante el programa que ustedes tienen planeado porque es el segundo día de la fiesta de Sukkot, que es la fiesta de tabernáculos. I'm sending warm greetings to you. I'm greatly honored to be invited to participate in your live forum. I was not able to attend live because it is the Jewish festival of the tabernacles, of the holiday of booths. When we build Sukkot, we build these little tabernacles, these little booths outside of our home as a memory of the exodus from Egypt and the sojourn in the desert. Well, today I wanted to just take a few brief moments to introduce myself and to thank you for including me, especially to Reverend Liza Marquez, who I had a wonderful conversation with, and I really look forward to more and more opportunities to collaborate together. And I'm deeply honored to be in fellowship with all of you, and I thank you very much for including me. I strongly support your efforts in the Global Truth Center in Los Angeles, and especially the work of Reverend Karen Frost of the Spirit Uncensored. So I'm very honored to be in your company. Liza, because she knew I was not able to participate, asked me to share a few words with you and sent me a number of questions. It is right before the Sabbath. It is very busy season for rabbis, but I really felt that this was an important thing to do. I am a Cuban-American Sephardic rabbi. My legal name is Rigoberto Emmanuel Viñas y Pedraza. My family are refugees from Cuba who came to the United States following the Cuban Revolution in 1960. We established ourselves here in the city of Miami. I have served in pulpits in Miami, in New York, in Yonkers, New York. I served with great honor as one of the important chaplains of the Yonkers Police Department for many years. I was a professor at City College in New York, primarily focusing on Sephardic studies, but in general in the Jewish Studies Department and the Humanities Department of City College. And I also was the head of a large synagogue in the New York area. Most of my work has focused through an organization that I founded around 20 years ago. It is called El Centro de Estudios, Judios, Torat, Emet. It is a Spanish language ministry to Spanish-speaking Jews and to people who are descendants of the Jews of Spain and Portugal who were forcibly converted to Judaism during the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisitions, who then sought refuge in the Americas, who then mixed racially, became a very racially mixed group because they were Spanish and Portuguese Jews who then took up residence in the Americas and married with African slaves and also with Native Americans of all of the Americas. One of those major concentrations is in Mexico, in Nuevo León, and in the northern part of Mexico, which later became the southwestern part of the United States. A large number of Latinos actually have a heritage of observance of some of the rituals and customs of the Jewish people. They called us, at that time, they called us marranos, which means pigs. It was an insulting name for us. Jewish law, our identity, is to be called anusim. Anusim in Hebrew is that we are descendants of the Jews that were forced. Anus means that we were forced to convert and to assume an identity that was not our own for fear of torture and burning at the stake, which was the act of the auto da fe. A great number of Jews were burned at the stake during the Spanish and Portuguese Inquisition, which really was rescinded in the 1800s. So it really lasted a really long time, from 1400s into the 1800s is 400 years of persecution. I am a descendant of people from Cuba that had an outward identity, an external identity, and held on to an internal identity. That internal identity was a secret identity of observing Jewish laws and Jewish customs. But the external identity was that we pretended that we were fully engaged as Catholics, normal citizens, common citizens of Cuba, and it wasn't until we came to the United States that we formalized our return to Judaism. Much of my work and my ministry has been to help other people that are descendants, Latinos, that are descendants of the Spanish and Portuguese Jews that find themselves all over the Americas and really all over the world to return to their original identity. We don't call ourselves converts. We call ourselves reverts because we are not converting to a new identity. We are reverting to our own. Another area of my work has been to create and to promote, to foster diversity. And that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to applaud the work of your organization, and I'm so honored to be invited to participate and to share with you, even though I can't be there with you as you are live on Zoom. Really, very much my heart is with you. Much of our work has been to promote diversity. I've had many, many challenges. When I speak about promoting diversity, I'm speaking about racial and ethnic diversity within the Jewish community. The American Jewish Congress awarded me, a very prestigious award recognizing me as supporting diversity within the Jewish community. It was a lovely kaleidoscope, and they talked about the diversity within diversity, which I was very honored to do so. Very strong ties within the African-American Jewish communities, and I work as a professor of Talmud for the Israelite Rabbinical Academy, which ordains African-American rabbis to serve the African-American community. Much of my mission has been to grow Judaism within Latin America. That involves a presential program where we are building synagogues and communities throughout Latin America, assisting a return to Jewish identity all over Latin America, and then also an online presence, an extensive online presence. We publish under the name Torat, Tropical, Tropical Torah, using the idea that it is warm, that it is inviting, that it is welcoming, primarily teaching through a YouTube channel that is readily available, with more than almost 2 million downloads of classes in Spanish regarding Judaism, all aspects of Jewish life. When I describe myself as a Sephardic rabbi, let me be clear about what that is. A Sephardic rabbi, Sephardim, there are two major groups within Jewish life today. One, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews that came from, of course, from the Iberian Peninsula, and then were expelled in 1492 by the King and Queen of Spain, and then spread out throughout the Americas, primarily settling first in the Caribbean, Brazil, which had the first synagogue in the Western Hemisphere, founded in Recife, and then on to Curacao. There was a Jewish country in South America called the Joden Savan, which was established by the Dutch, coming into the United States at the synagogue that I was trained in, the Spanish-Portuguese synagogue, Shereth Israel, which was founded by 24 Spanish-speaking Jews. The first Jews that came to America were Spanish-speaking Jews that also spoke Portuguese, that were leaving Brazil because the Inquisition had come in, and in 1654 they arrived in the United States and founded the first synagogue, Shereth Israel, which is called the Remnant of Israel, which was their experience that they were refugees running from religious oppression and found refuge in New Amsterdam, which later became New York. That is the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue of New York, and there's an entire network of sister synagogues all over the world, which are called the Spanish and Portuguese synagogues. We are called Sephardim because the Hebrew term for Spain is Sepharad. Sephardim are those who come from Spain and from Portugal, from the entire Iberian Peninsula, and all of the diasporas that were forced upon us in many different parts of the world. Ashkenazim are primarily Jews from Eastern Europe and from Germany, because the term Ashkenaz is Germany, and Germany had a very strong influence upon those other Jewish communities. So I am a Sephardic rabbi. I am ordained by multiple seminaries. It's interesting that many of us will probably relate to this, that where you could work with one degree, a lot of us require 3 in order to be able to function well in the outside world. I was ordained by the Satmar Hasidic sect of Hasidim. I was ordained by a Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox Ashkenazic yeshiva, and I was ordained by a Sephardic rabbi privately, a separate ordination as a Sephardic rabbi. I'm also licensed and ordained as a Torah scribe, which is called a sofer, a person that writes Torahs, tefillin, mezuzot, all of the sacred objects, using the feather pen and the parchment and following all of the traditional rules. That was an ordination from Yeshiva University. I wanted to, Liza asked if I would please describe a little bit about Judaism. Of course, it's a daunting task to do that in a short moment, but I will share with you that Judaism is what the Christian community would call an Old Testament based faith that focuses primarily on the 24 books of what the Christians call the Old Testament. We call the Tanakh, which is the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. Additionally, Jews believe that Moses not only received the law and the commandments at Mount Sinai when he received the 10 Commandments, but that he also received an oral tradition that was handed down from generation to generation as to how to carry out those commandments, creating a full body of Jewish knowledge, 2,000 years in exile, great scholars, philosophers. I'm speaking to you, by the way, I guess surrounded by some of the books and supports that come from a traditional Jewish upbringing. I was my family returned to Judaism when I was a young boy. I was raised in the faith, and I was blessed to attend some of the finest yeshivot, some of the finest seminaries, always with a very strong appreciation for the classical Talmudic and halachic Talmud study and legal Jewish study, which classifies a Sephardic rabbi. Much of our work is to return the identity of Latino Jews, return them to their identity, and also to establish that within the Jewish community, race and ethnicity, that we should understand that race and ethnicity are social constructs. You see, when the Spanish crown began to discriminate against Sephardim, their first attempt was to convert us by means of persuasion. There were a number of forced disputations and an attempt at converting us by persuasion. When the crown saw that the Jewish community would not be converted by persuasion in the majority, there were some who did, they then began to create a sense that perhaps there was something racially inappropriate about us, They called that la mancha de la sangre del judaísmo. And during the laws of the Siete Partidas of Spain, the best that I can describe this is that race became racial because the Christians were in a war with Muslims, and they created a feeling that the people who were coming from outside were people of color. The Jews were associated with those people of color, and we were then, even after forcibly converted, we were then stigmatized with the title of Nuevos Cristianos, and nobody wanted to really fully integrate with us. And that is part of the history of 900 years of oppression of Sephardim, of Spanish and Portuguese Jews. When we speak about race, the argument that our ministry is making is that race is a social construct that has absolutely no place in biblical thought, and even more so in Jewish thought, because race in the Jewish construct is language, identity, and religious feeling. And so therefore, white Jews and black Jews and Latino Jews and Asian Jews would be considered to be the same tribe, would be considered to be the same family. In fact, we would make the argument that the entire beginning message of the Bible, as all of you are aware, is that we all come from that one human family, that we're all brothers and sisters, that God desires that we be united. I'll share with you a quick midrash, because the midrash is a metaphorical and symbolic language that is laid out in the Talmud and throughout a collection of midrashic material. It says that when Jacob spent the night in the place that the Bible doesn't identify, but that he sees the ladder that is connecting heaven and earth, and he promises there to build a temple, that he took stones, says the Bible, that he took stones from that place and he placed them around his head to protect himself. Later on, it uses the language that he anointed the stone, that he put his head upon the stone. The rabbis in the Talmud said, wait a moment. Did he take stones with an S, plural, or did he take one stone? There's a beautiful midrash that says that in fact is the Even Shetiyah, the foundation stone of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem, and that in fact it was made up of a black stone, a red stone, a yellow stone, and a white stone. And that overnight, as he was having the experience with God, that all of those stones merged and became one. I believe that one of the things that motivates me is that all of us that are united, believing in one God, that one God loves all of humanity. And so much of my work has been to promote brotherhood of mankind in the service of the one God who is the creator of heaven and earth, who is our heavenly Father, who loves all of us equally and would want that we would be able to be together as brothers and sisters, and that we would overcome all kinds of strife. Unfortunately, as we know, all too often religion has been used not to unite us, but to divide us. And so it's very important, some of the work that we have been doing to encourage Latino Jewish identity. On a personal note, much of my work is really a way of chasing away the lonely feeling of being that stranger whose name is Rigoberto Viñas, who speaks Hebrew, who studied in a traditional yeshiva, and can hold my own within the Jewish life as any other rabbi, offering my brothers and sisters some of the blessings that I have been able to get. And I want to share with you one other thing. One of the questions that Reverend Liza asked me is that I should talk about accolades and recognitions that I have received. You're actually looking at a museum piece. Do I look like, I don't look that old, but here it is. I am actually, to my great honor and the honor of my children, my daughters, my granddaughters. I am included in the Smithsonian Institute's African American Museum, the National African American Museum in Washington, D.C., because I was invited by some of my dear friends in the African American Jewish community, because I am a trained scribe, to write for them a Torah scroll. So it's not an easy task, and I invite you to take a look at some of these descriptions over Google. But I wrote a Torah scroll for them to bless them, and when we dedicated it, it was the first Torah scroll written in the United States specifically for an African American Jewish community. And of course, all of the wire services came because it was a very historic event, and it is now at the Beth El congregation in Philadelphia, which is a predominantly African American Jewish congregation. I thank you. And of course, they took pictures and they made a big thing, and I'm in the museum, and my daughters all came, and everybody's all excited. It's a very beautiful thing. I often am asked, which one are you? Are you Hispanic? Are you a Latino? Or are you a Jew? And I answer them, I am fully a Latino. I am fully Hispanic. And I am fully a Jew. And in fact, some people react to this and think it might be controversial, but I think I'm in good company to say it. I'm sharing a message of liberation. I share with my community a message of upliftment. And I pray that I would be able to contribute through Judaism, through some of the wonderful teachings of the Torah and of the rabbis and of the Jewish tradition, an identity that liberated us from slavery and has held us through a difficult exile of 2,000 years of oppression. It feels to me that Judaism has been a great blessing for the Jewish people. It has given us resiliency and been able to give us the opportunity to bless others, even while we're being oppressed by others, to continue to contribute to the ideas of the world. So therefore, part of my mission is to assist all of my brothers and sisters in assuming an identity, returning to our original identity that was stolen from us, in order to be able to live a fully blessed life. And I thank you once again for inviting me to participate, and I wish you a shalom, a chag sameach, and I thank you very much for the invitation, and I applaud your work, and I wish you a God bless you and a shalom ubracha.